Rolling. Alright. Maybe back into this one turn. Alright. Well, this is sweet.
It's able to be set up for, like, it almost needs this this crate to be set up here so it has perfect camera lens.
Here we are.
And just make sure you talk right into the side of it.
And welcome back to another QT
AtQNA.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome.
Reboot.
So this is episode number 2. As you can see on this screen here, Craig had found a thing on the internet. Why don't you explain it?
I got to get
what
my
we're gonna do.
cheat sheet out. So this was found on Doctor Who and the TARDIS Facebook group page. Which door will you open? First of all, who's this?
Everybody, this is Evan Melanson-Smith. He's a friend of mine on the film side of things, and we met a little while ago. What did we first work on together?
Technically, you don't remember me, but I also wasn't trying to make an impression. I was just kind of coasting at the time.
I remember you from Ink for sure.
Yeah, you came to Ink once or twice
because she did like a couple weeks there. Anyways, that was a weird show.
Mm-hmm. There was 170 units, pieces of equipment for transport on sea.
Yep.
So I can imagine how many people were up there just trying to keep lockups and everything in place.
It was outrageous.
I could see why you guys wouldn't probably
I mostly came out for some second unit action VFX stuff.
Oh, okay.
Hard locations, easy day. Easier than he experienced. And there were a couple of times I was on main unit, but I just helped. Just kept quiet, just got through the day.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like the world of C isn't on this list, but it's still very new. And you know what? It almost deserves a spot in its own right because it's dealing with there's probably spoilers here, but it's been out for like a few months. If you haven't seen it,
I can answer. The Sea World doesn't have to be on here. I can answer it. Nobody would survive because it's dumb. It's a bad show. That show makes no goddamn sense. Like so many.
See,
things.
we've talked about this before, where it's like I feel that. It's okay, so it's 600 years in the future, and like everyone's blind, but the people who survived would be fucking survivors. You know what I mean? They'd be hardcore human beings because evolutionarily speaking, they would be like the toughest motherfuckers ever, right?
Well, they'd barely be people anymore. You know what I mean? Like they'd be more ape once again. I don't know. They seem too organized, too civilized. I've gone on and on about how everybody's ornate, and like some of that makes sense with like the scarring on the face when you touch the dead or whoever. You can see if that's your person. You can identify them by the markings. A friend of mine pointed out how dumb it is that people face each other when they talk in C, because if it's all audio, you'd be turning your ears so you can hear them better. You know what I mean? Like that's a little detail like that. It was overlooked. That's fine. I can suspend my disbelief for that a little bit. But also, are you expecting me to believe that in a world where everyone goes blind and then somehow they end up living in the woods, that not all of them, like the bear populations would thrive?
Definitely
they'd be eaten so fast. Like, you know how long it would take for people to kind of, like cities, places you're familiar with, towns, you can kind of figure that out when you're blind.
But you go running through the forest and all of a sudden you got a branch going, right into your eye that doesn't work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So at least you wouldn't worry about that, but I'd say there'd be a lot more
infection,
people.
You know what I mean? How would you identify the drugs? Because you wouldn't be able to smell like immediately. No switch in your brain would be like, oh, that's the antibiotic. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just...
Well, I understand that point, but like also think about how shaman in like Peru figured out how to make ayahuasca and stuff. What they've said is that the trees told them.
Sure.
Because you need the root of this one tree and you need the bark of this other tree, and if you take the root by itself, you'll basically kill yourself unless you add that bark, because the bark has an MAO inhibitor in it, and then by putting them together and concentrating it, you trip balls for like 30 hours. It's pretty amazing.
That's a fair point, but let me counter with that, like the thousands of years of trial and error. You know what I mean?
Fair.
And also, like, sure, there are people in the world who have this knowledge, but the masses would not. You know what I mean? In this specific scenario, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are people who might even be able to identify it by smell, like with sight, you know what I mean? Like with all of their senses. But like to be fully blind and then have to go out and figure it out, you know what I mean? Because like they know what it looks like. That's our primary sense, right? You see it. It's a visual thing. And
So berries are red.
Exactly, right?
But you can't see that in sight, right? So is the tree telling you that the berry's red, so it's good to eat?
Oh, I meant not in that sense.
well, let's
but
get
just
off
in
that rabbit trail. It should be on there. So going back to
All
this
right.
list.
Apple C aside.
Yes.
We decided so Evan, what would you choose on this, and how would you thrive in that environment, being like a modern person just being dropped into this door?
Okay. The one I think I would thrive in would be Neverland. And that's
Neverland.
because people don't really die in Neverland. You
That's
know what I
fair.
mean? Unless you subscribe to the theory that everyone there is already dead. You know what I mean? And so Neverland.
That's an interesting choice.
You can fucking fly in Neverland. You can, if you've seen Hook, you can eat imaginary food. You'll be fine. You know what I mean? You know, like
That was like one of my favorite scenes.
It's
when
fantastic,
he
right?
comes to realize he has an imagination, and then flip.
yeah, you're doing it, Peter. And so like that's the most logical answer. The one that I would thrive in. You can fucking hang out with so many different groups. You can become a pirate if you want. Avoid
That would
crowd
require
down.
growing up, though.
yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Then you wouldn't be able to
Yes.
fly.
That's true.
Also true.
Okay,
Yeah.
so say I just joined the Lost Boys. I can just fuck around and you can do anything. They're like Neverland. It's a whimsical land. You can do whatever you want. Pretty.
You're not a
much, you know? You can
pirate, but
avoid
you're still
conflicts.
having a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Skateboarding all day? I'd be down for that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Bangarang. So to me, that's my answer. That's where I would thrive. Would be in Neverland because I would never have to. You wouldn't have to work. You could just hang out, and you don't really have to worry about dying if you avoid the pirates or the crocodile. That's pretty much it.
And
right?
getting to hang out with Michael Jackson. That'd be pretty fucking dope.
Exactly right.
What about forgetting? Because you forget everything that you came from the real world, friends, loved ones.
Is that established fact though? Because like,
It seems to be a running theme through all the different renditions of that show.
Interesting.
yeah, fair point. But you can still thrive, I guess. You know what I mean? You can.
But is that something that you're willing to give up? Is what I'm asking.
I suppose, it's if I have to make a choice and I want to live forever, then it's a fair trade. You know what I mean? I'd eventually forget everything.
Yeah.
That's part of living forever. You're not going to remember everything or everybody.
Yeah, that's
You know
true.
what I mean? So,
Yeah, that's fair.
because I've been thinking a lot about Highlander recently.
Oh,
I
nice.
just got really into Highlander.
Like
I
the
watched.
TV series or the
I'm
Both.
surprised
the movie
that's
and the
not on
series.
here.
the movies were darn good.
You can watch the full director's cut on
or
YouTube.
the Hatch from Lost is another
Yeah,
one.
there's some
Lost would be
really
pretty interesting
Yes, Lost is amazing.
But that's also purgatory. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, it's that's my answer for thriving. At least I have answers for the other ones.
Oh, please.
If you guys want to go
Let's
and pick
see.
the ones you thrive in.
Like, which one do you think you would get your fucking ass handed to you in 4 seconds?
Oh, Wonderland for sure.
Wonderland.
Wonderland.
Off with his head. I'm not one for the monarchy. So I'd be like, fuck this red bitch. And immediately decapitated.
Fair.
Immediately. Yeah. Well, what one do you guys think you would thrive in?
You go ahead, Walter.
For myself, thriving in, I'd definitely dive down the rabbit hole of the TARDIS for sure, and I'd get myself into probably some really sticky situations. But at the same time, I think it would be I don't know. I'm kind of a wild card like that, so it would make the most sense to be able to go in multiple different dimensions and time as not a linear construct. Just it all exists in one little tiny spot, and then that's it. You're able to go
It's
everywhere.
like different bubbles.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me pose you this
Time
question.
and destinations.
Interesting choice using the TARDIS to go wherever. However, are you a doctor or are you Walter?
Interesting. How about Dr. Walter?
So if you're one of the doctors and you have like a sonic screwdriver or whatever, yeah, you can see you thriving.
That would get you
however,
through
if
a
you
lot.
go as Walter, what if you drop into a random dimension and you can't breathe? You know what I mean? Like,
Wouldn't the TARDIS would bring you places that only you could visit, right? It wouldn't bring you to like, it has a bubble just outside of it as a force field, so you can walk outside and see whether or not it's like.
Oh, that was my thought too. So what happens if somebody sees this police box?
well, see, I'm not
grabs it and ends up taking it, and now you're stuck in another world.
Well, then that's what happens.
I'm not a Whovian. I don't have an extensive knowledge of what this thing can do. But from my understanding, the Doctor is an alien.
Mm-hmm.
He's like
From Gallifrey.
Yeah, there's only ever one at a time, unless it's multiple versions of him.
There are two.
There are two. Who's the second?
The second is the Master, who is actually played by freaking Michelle Gomez, who we work with.
Oh, fascinating.
She's on Doctor Who, and she was a reoccurring character for quite a while, and known as the Master. And like, I didn't even like the weirdest part about this is that I didn't even put it together until like a few weeks ago that I was working with like the Master.
Oh wow.
And like, because like the whole time I'm like, she just looks so dang familiar. I can't quite place it. And full on, it's Michelle Gomez from Doctor Who.
I had a moment like that, not as cool as that, but I had a moment where I was working on another TV show, and we were filming here in Vancouver on some city street, and a guy pulled up, and he was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, and I don't know the guy's name, but I know him. I've seen him in things, and he's currently playing the father of Betty on Riverdale.
Oh, Lachlan Monroe.
Oh yeah.
That guy,
Yeah.
very nice guy. He was very cool.
I've worked with him on a heap of things.
He pulled up with his son, and he was talking to me. He's like, "Hey, what's filming here?" And I was just like, "I'm not sure if I can say it at the time." He takes off his sunglasses. He's like, "I get it," and stuff like that. And then I recognize him rather, and he instead of saying, "Oh, you're Betty's dad on Riverdale," like my brain immediately went to, "Oh, you're the baby dick guy from Scary Movie." And I said, I feel really bad. I said that in front of his kid, and he was like, "Yeah," and then he rolled away.
You're the baby dick guy. Oh god, that's fucking awesome. Oh man, he was actually a military person or an FBI agent in the movie I worked in when I took that two month break. It's called Lady Death.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've worked with him in a ton of things. He's like, I don't know how many credits he's got in his IMDb, but it's well over 100.
Yeah, he's a
He's
working
in, like,
actor.
everything.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that but you don't know the name of. You know what I mean? Well, you do, obviously. You worked with him more directly. But he's somebody that I've seen in a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, oh, hey, man, what's going on?
Wagons East, he was in that movie with John Candy. It was John Candy's last film.
Oh,
and
right,
that's
yes.
a really fun
Yeah.
movie, like a super fun. It's got Richard Lewis, John Candy, Lachlan Monroe, heaps of cameos and such like that too. But what I most remember him from is Dead Man on Campus. If you've ever seen that, it was an older movie where like the premise was these fucking Zach Morris and his roommate in college or best friend or whatever. They end up. Zach Morris is like the pothead kind of dude, and he keeps trying to like scheme his way by the grades and everything like that. So he finds something in the school charter where if your your dormitory roommate kills themselves, you get straight A's for the rest of the semester. So they try to interview all of these depressed
kids
or wild card kids. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch this movie
It's
now.
fucking
It sounds
great.
super familiar.
It's
actually.
super great.
When you said Dead Man on Campus, for some reason, my mind, being a little bit younger than you, my mind went to Big Wolf on Campus, Canadian TV show.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that show?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's something.
It's
I don't know if you can find it on YouTube, but it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Well, back to this. So, what would be the disadvantages of being?
the disadvantages of the TARDIS.
Yes.
I mean, there really wouldn't be many, other than like someone, like you said, trying to hotwire it and steal it. But like, you just get really good at hiding it, I would imagine.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And like I said, just outside, it has like a shield, so you can essentially walk out and assess the situation before even like
Staying there.
staying
Yeah, I
there,
got
yeah.
it.
But it is meant for 7 people to fly it, and you have to be really fucking on the ball with that, because it's meant for like a. The Doctor does it because he's just crazy and awesome. But
now I was looking at this as a standpoint of then and now too, because you got Game of Thrones. You got that style of fighting, Middle Earth, Camelot. You got a lot of places up there that are real tough.
bred in war, yeah.
Yeah, you're bred in as a warrior. And I was thinking a lot about like today in today's world. We get into our brand new cars and they self-lock. You can drive down the street and essentially be safe from everything around you unless you get hit, or if you're stopped at an intersection or stuck on a highway where somebody jumps the meridian with a gun and says, "Hey, we're going to take your car and all your money. Get out." What do you're pretty much, we ride in these bubbles nowadays, and it's like, well, if I were to go into any one of these places, how would I survive? And if I could survive, I was kind of thinking along those lines as well. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Between the timeline that the show's in and where we are at.
I wouldn't say, okay, so the only one that would be a timeline of our style would be Camelot, because that's like, actually, no, that's kind of mythical as well.
You got Merlin.
You can't think of these you can't really think of these in the sense of like our Earth linear timeline. You'd have to think of all these as like multiple universes existing at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Well, to me, you can approach this one of two ways. Either you were born into this world, or you're yourself and you just go into it. You know what I mean?
Looking at this picture as us being ourselves in this timeline, in this world, as this real people that we are, if we were to just walk into one of these worlds the way that we are now, and then try to go through that world, that would be pretty intense.
Yes and no. I mean, 221B Baker Street. Like, if you're entering Sherlock, that's just Earth. You don't necessarily have to be part of the mystery.
No.
You know what I mean? You don't unless you make a rule and says you have to go.
It was pretty ruthless in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. And then you're contending with the Black Plague and all that kind of stuff now too.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also just if you're your current self, if you're educated enough, you have knowledge of what's going to happen approximately at what times, and you can just relocate. Exactly, right? So,
right, yes.
So, or the alternative is if because it's pretty vague, it's just 220B Baker Street. You could just walk into the world of Sherlock and be here.
Now,
if I watched in modern London and just hang out.
Now, if I walked into Mushroom Kingdom and decided to go down one of the plumbing tubes to see if it would warp me into like a magic zone and all of a sudden land in lava,
I think that one would
pretty
fuck
pissed.
people up a lot more than anyone would assume. Everyone would be like, "Oh, it would be so easy." No, man. Look, think about how many times you died playing Mario.
Tons.
You get a couple of tries. You know what I mean? So it's like that movie. No, it's not. Next isn't a good example. The Nicolas Cage movie Next, where you can see like 10 seconds in the future or whatever.
I haven't seen it.
No, it'd be more like Day After Tomorrow. Or not Day After Tomorrow. Oh, what's that Tom Cruise movie? Live, Die, Repeat. They changed the name to Live, Die, Repeat, I think, because people thought that's what the movie was. What's it called?
Shit, it's like one of my favorite movies.
It's a good movie.
Sounds a lot like...
1 second, I'm going to look it up.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
So Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow, you just kind of die, and then you're like, okay, I get another shot of this. It's just like, and then
because you wake up.
While we're on the topic of this,
but in that moment where like it's like Groundhog's Day meets Army.
So while we're on the topic of this, something that I really hate is when I hate that Groundhog Day is now a genre. Because you see it all the time. Like, I haven't watched it yet. I'm sure it's good. I hear good things. That show Russian Doll is just Groundhog Day. Supernatural did
that Supernatural episode is one of my favorite episodes.
I enjoyed that episode, but I don't like that so many things do this Groundhog Day thing. You're just stealing the premise of Groundhog Day. Oh, like some shitty person's got to live the day over and over again until some lessons learned. It's like, that's just Groundhog Day. It's not a genre. It's just the movie that you're taking the idea from.
I actually heard on the radio the other day that they were saying that they should make another remake because they're making remakes of all these movies like over and over again. Neverland, how many times has that been remade? So they were talking about Groundhog Day and have it start on the same day, same people, same movie, and just that's the trailer. Fuck everybody up. It's new, it's remade, but it's the same trailer.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, what do you think it like? If we're gonna go into that, like, what do you think? Was it like a temporal vortex, like located in that one town, and was it specific to him, or was everybody experiencing this but unaware that they were experiencing it? He was just the only one who had a memory of it.
It was definitely only him in that movie because you would see different people behaving differently, a little
Yes,
more
that's right,
erratically.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would be clever.
They
Like
weren't
if
doing
they
the same
had done that,
thing,
nobody
yeah.
noticed. Where it's just like it's him doing these crazy things, and like he's the only real changing variable of the day. But it would have been interesting to see a couple of other individuals change in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they start doing different things differently. Also,
Like, instead of just experiencing deja vu. Right?
yeah, because that's what that supernatural episode touched on. You know what I mean? That's how Sam figured out what was going on, more or less. Is just like he lived thousands of days. You never find out how many number of days he's living, but every day somebody gets like maple syrup or something on their pancakes, and he notices that detail. And then he notices that one day this guy orders strawberry syrup, and like in a when he's caught in this time loop thing, he's just like, "What the fuck? What's going on here?"
Okay, so I'm here at Cocktails and Dreams in Delta. We came to a Roti King Super Bowl pop-up. So Roti King is a kind of a pop-up restaurant owned by a friend of mine. Super rad human, little brown guy. His DJ name, also known as Nick Powell. So this is his first offering here. He's got a Rotadilla. So Rotadilla is a Fijian-style quesadilla. Spicy vegetables, cheese blend, spices melted to a crisp goodness, topped with sour cream, fresh chili, and chutney. And he said he made the sour cream as well. That's super cool. Let's give it a shot. Well, the sweetness of that little sauce on the top, the cheese is super delightful. The bread itself is quite amazing. Like, I would totally say this is pretty damn
This time I'm gonna stop this one too.
Sorry, I hope I can swear. I'm just swearing.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no, this is actually YouTube asked me the other day. They're like, "Is this show intended for children?" I was like, "Absolutely not!"
No,
Like, and then I clicked no, and they messaged me again saying, "Are you absolutely sure this is not intended for children?" I'm like, "Yes, this is not intended for children." Like,
If I would have said if children watch it, that's your fault, not
that's my
mine.
fault. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like you are the fucking platform.
It
I
was-
am the content creator.
Yeah.
And,
I'm telling you, my content's not for children.
I didn't have that option.
Yeah.
All right.
Stick some interesting editing. That'll be fun.
Well, that's the nice thing is you can cut over to this camera too.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for this time, I just stopped it dead this time. I figured out how to. I brought the card reader with me so we can actually get that off that camera.
Jive.
I'm gonna stop recording until we're ready again.
Okay.
Are we? Well, I'll just throw that shit away anyways. So one of the things I was going to say that going back to like the Groundhog Day and the reoccurring everything, one of the things that's not on this list as well that I think should be, although it really hasn't been a TV series until just recently, or a movie even, is The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, Stephen King.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a big fan of the series. I've read every
And
book.
I got a full-on tattoo, I guess, for having camera issues here. Card must be full on this one.
It's either card full or battery.
Oh, it could be the battery.
I have a.
That's fine. We don't need to go. We don't need to bother with that one. So yeah, going to let's just scratch that. With the Groundhog Day, looking at that reoccurring, I was thinking that the one that should be on this list that isn't
spoiler
on
alert
this
for the
list.
Dark Tower series. If we go into this, you know what I mean.
Well, it's not really a spoiler alert. The books have been out for so long, and if
you're
you're a
right.
true fan of this series, you've read all of the books. I think that movie didn't do it any justice.
Oh
at
no!
all.
You know what
Like,
the
that
movie? You know
was
what the movie did right?
stupid.
The aesthetic of the movie was pretty good. You know what I
No.
mean? Like the way they did the Kentoi and all that, like the animal people and like the faces. That's pretty close to what I imagined, and that's what I liked about it. I felt like Idris Elba could have been a good gunslinger, but where they made the mistake is they didn't give him blue eyes, like the striking
Yes.
blue eyes. It would have been a lot. It would have been far more striking in Idris Elba. You
Maybe
know what
it
I
was
mean?
because of the fact that he. Wait, are we talking about Matthew McConaughey's character?
Yes.
Or the, oh, okay.
No, we're talking
No,
about
the other guy.
Roland's.
Idris Elba was
Okay,
playing
so-
Roland Deschain.
yes.
Didn't that guy play Heimdall from the
Yeah, he
Thor
did.
series? And
Yeah.
he had the blue eyes. So
Now, I
they were probably trying to
understand
like
why
stray
they
away
went
from
with
that.
a ethnic person or a black person on the that for the movie. I understand that, but why not go with? I don't even know if we can put this in there. Or what the name of the people are?
What do you mean?
The ones with that are National Geographic. They're like from an island. They got blazing blue eyes.
Yeah, the African people. Right?
Yeah, the African people
Yeah.
with the dark skin. And like, if you're going, why are you segregating from, race still? That I didn't understand. If you wanted a black person to play that part, but you're taking it so far away from what the description of Roland is in the show. Like you said, the blue eyes. Like, I don't know many black people with blue eyes. So,
yeah, well, to me that doesn't really matter because like I'm not a fan. Like obviously I'd like it to be as close to the source material, but at the same time, he's a really good actor who I feel could really do, like he has the stature because he's supposed to be a really big man, but also and he has that kind of presence. You know what I mean? That he has that air of danger around him. I thought he was good casting. I thought they just should have been a little more insistent on. They should have made him so clean cut because they should have made him a little more rugged. Like I'm actually a fan of if they remake it.
they should have done the full movies.
Well,
From the books, they should have dragged it out longer and played more with. I think if Wes Anderson had directed it, it would have been a totally different show.
Wes Anderson doing the Dark Tower hunt.
Could you imagine the detail that he'd put into it and the time that he would actually take to give that book series the true meaning that it should actually have, instead of just, let's just throw out one movie and describe the entire thing in the one series. He didn't describe the entire thing. They took it off to a little bit of a spin when they had the town up on the mountain at the end.
Yeah,
The Dark Tower at the end of the book series is why I was thinking the Groundhog Day, which I'm not going to get into for the spoiler.
Well, that's kind of why
stuff.
they did the movie the way they did. That's why that part of it doesn't really bother me. I just thought it was a little poorly executed because you know what happens at the end of the series. We're being a little vague here. I don't know if you have.
I have no idea.
Being
what you guys
very
are talking
vague.
about, so it's
Yeah.
totally
But
fine.
anyways,
So-
it should be on there, and maybe by rights one day it will actually make this list if they
You-
take the time to make the movie right.
You know, I'm a little
I think.
hungover because I was at a show last night. But something I'm just noticing now is like, we have Hogwarts up there. What the fuck is Dumbledore? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? Like, I have no idea.
I thought the exact same thing when I saw that too.
I do not want to enter Dumbledore. Let's put it that way. Like,
That is the unknown.
there are plenty who do, but I don't want any door that's rocking a beard and a wizard hat. Stay out.
Is that, oh no, I thought that was like chest hair as well. I was like, wow, they went into detail, but he just has a really
He's
long
got a
Yeah, he's got a really
ponytail on
long
his
beard.
ponytail.
But you're right. Like, you're talking Hogwarts is Hogwarts up top, and then Dumbledore is, the headmaster of Hogwarts. So
Yeah, whoever drew this freaking meme is just a dick.
or just dumb. They're like, I want to be a fan of, or I want to be like a part of geek culture in this way. I want to start this conversation, but
hey, we're
What?
talking about it.
like, what are you talking about?
We're sitting here talking about this.
No, but this person went so far as to make this image to start the conversation, and they have Hogwarts. I mean, this could be a joke. You know what I mean? This could
No,
have
it
started
totally
as a
is,
joke.
obviously.
But it could just be somebody who doesn't know. You know. But yeah, we never. I don't think we ever got to answer the question. You said you would think you would thrive in the Doctor Who world. What was your answer again?
I hadn't picked one. Oh, no, I hadn't really picked one yet.
Okay, so while you think about this, Walter, what one do you think you would last 4 seconds in? What one do you think you would be just immediately killed in?
Probably the Hogwarts one because it's so fucking stupid. I'd kill myself.
Yeah, those staircases would move.
No, just in the sense of like I'm just not a fan.
I personally
I
liked
would
it.
literally kill myself because I'd be like, this is too cutesy and retarded.
It's not necessarily
yeah.
cute. I thought the movies did a really good job with kind of establishing, because obviously it's a kids movie when it starts. Like,
Yes.
and they're kids movies throughout. They just get a little darker.
Yes.
However, Hogwarts itself and the way they depicted it was, to me, pretty cool.
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah,
but that was the graphics and there's the the aesthetic of the whole thing. But I do agree with you. It's very, very cutesy. Camelot, on the other hand, you got Merlin, you got magic. Same thing with Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings. You got two sorcerers battling it out. There's a lot of magic in that show, and even the elves got a lot of magic. So that's
so much. Yeah.
I don't see how anybody could thrive in the Mushroom Kingdom.
No, that's not a thriving land at all.
No,
you
it's like,
die
what do
in
you
like
do?
seconds.
You die, you come back. Your goal is to save this princess.
Edge of Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, your goal is to save this princess, and then what?
Unless you're in number 3 and you get unlimited lives. That's not so bad, but you'd have to make it to 3.
Or warp whistles
Oh yeah.
with mag wheels. It's got to have mag wheels.
Which would you die really quick?
I think I had said which one?
Maybe
I
I'd
had
die
said
by
Wonderland.
Yeah.
I had said Wonderland. Another one that you could, or I feel like maybe I could thrive in a bit would be, probably 221B Baker Street. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of mysteries, and I love crime stuff. I think it's fascinating. I think in another life, maybe later in this one, I could try and become a homicide detective or something.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so interesting to me trying to.
Now, is that because of
figure out these
CSI?
people. No, not because of CSI. I recently watched that documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats, on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
And to anybody who's listening, that's a tough watch if you haven't already seen it.
I started watching it, but my daughter was in the room, and I was like, "Okay, this is
You
not
made
what
the
I
right
thought
call.
it
You made the
was."
right call not
I shut it right
watching it
down.
with her.
I was like, "This is not
that
right."
is a tough watch, especially if you're if you're not a psychopath. It's a tough watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got me.
The kitten stuff wasn't great.
I commend them for showing enough of the footage to really give you an idea of what happened,
and just getting the reaction videos of which oh, that's what I did.
I truly
sorry. Yesterday I was trying to figure out what I was recording on the computer. I was recording Isaiah's reaction to the awkward cat commercial for AtQNA. And if you haven't seen it, check it out right now. It's pretty awesome.
Definitely is interesting.
yeah.
It's totally you. It is Walter written all over it.
But as I was saying, I feel like that in that documentary, it becomes essentially a Sherlock Holmes thing. You know what I mean? Because I hate to give credit to Luca Magnato, but that guy was pretty good. You know what I mean? As a villain, as somebody who infiltrated this group. So more or less to sum
the
it up.
level of detail includes that he left because he was getting the attention was kind of
this guy absolutely would have been a serial killer if he had not been caught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing about this guy is he in a way he deserves this level of notoriety, but it's hard. I'm giving it to him and I shouldn't be because it's exactly what he wanted, and you don't want to forget about his victim. You know what I mean? A guy who just came here and tried to live his life in the open, and it's just
No,
wrong
I didn't
place,
see the
wrong
whole
time,
thing, so
you know?
that's I'm at a disadvantage to that. Oh yeah, this did die.
But yeah, I feel like if I had to be thrown into this world, I feel what I was trying to say was watching this documentary, if I had seen that cat video when it was posted on YouTube, I feel like I would have been one of the people in that Facebook group trying to pick apart that room and find any detail to try and catch this guy because he was messing with people.
The smokes I noticed right away. Yeah. The smokes were like, I've seen that pack. That is definitely a Canadian pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, I don't even smoke, but I noticed that too. I said it's North America. Yeah. It's a North American pack of cigarettes.
It was a Canadian
thing?
Marlboros. The guys from Canada.
Oh, okay.
Remember,
I hadn't seen the whole show after I shut it off.
It was when that guy was had mailed body parts to political figures.
Yeah.
To both the conservative
Briefly,
and
yeah.
liberal parties.
Yes.
You mailed
So
hands.
that was him, which was
Oh,
crazy
really?
because like you like because I remember that happening like in
Yeah,
real
the
time,
news,
right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
I didn't know anything about the cat videos, but as soon as I started watching this Don't Fuck with Cats, all of a sudden it's like sitting there, and then they mentioned the Carla Homolka thing. I was like, I remember that. This guy was outraged by it or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then like a few months later, like it was just all these things from like Canadian like news at the time
Yeah.
were all linked to this one.
Oh
fucking
wow.
dude.
I highly recommend you finish it.
Yeah.
But hope preferably with nobody else home, especially if your wife might be sensitive to this as well.
Yeah.
Definitely not your kid.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
It's,
she's really into some, a lot of like death craze things, ghosts, that sort of thing. But as soon as I played that, it was like, well, this is
Well, the
not
thing about
for
this,
you.
what makes it so crazy is this is real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this guy was leaving clues to try and make people find him.
Yeah.
And he infiltrated this Facebook group and he started mocking people, or he would like post more videos, and yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if I
Was that
had
the-
the opportunity to get involved in something like this, I would very much become intensely. I would just become addicted to the chase. I
Yeah.
feel. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Total sense.
And so I might be able to thrive a little bit, but maybe I'm overestimating my detective abilities. I probably am.
Yeah, everyone kind of assumes that they're really, really
Yeah.
good at figuring things out.
And
but
you
most
were
people-
talking before we go. I know nothing about Zelda, so it's like I think I wouldn't thrive in there at all because I would be going into that world knowing zilch.
knowing nothing. Yeah,
Knowing
that's
nothing.
Fair. And there's a lot of kind of traps there. It is like there's more puzzles in like Ocarina of Time, for example, for N64. There's more puzzles in one room of that game than there are in entire games.
Really?
Today. Like it's so well thought out, and it still holds up as one of the best video games ever made.
I agree. Yeah, the Water Temple. Fucking
Oh,
great.
dude,
Classic. Classic.
Jabu Jabu's belly, like
Yeah.
there's like Ugh.
Majora's Mask also good sequel. You know what I mean?
No, it was.
Ocarina of Time definitely probably superior, but Majora's Mask is a solid sequel.
and like it's just just like you can get lost for hours, and like I mean you die but not as often because like the worlds are huge.
Oh,
And,
okay,
like,
so you actually can work your way through it.
It was
properly.
pretty expansive for an N64 game.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, I feel like I definitely would not thrive in Narnia, just because I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed. It'd be like, yeah, it's fucking winter all the time because this lady's angry or something, this frost witch or whatever, and she's trying to feed me Turkish delights, which are bullshit.
Gross. Yeah,
I know they're
disgusting.
gross. Chocolate covered gummy candy.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that it's like there's a war in your world and you don't get sugar, but at the same time, like have some standards. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And then there's that Jesus lion. Like I don't know. And then that weird goat guy with the scarf. It's like your torso's exposed and you're wearing a scarf. Figure it
Yeah.
out, man. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't like the Chronicles of Narnia. And like I'm not really into those stories.
Do you
No,
at all
nor am
remember
I.
the version of it on television from like it was Canadian television from like the early 90s?
I only really remember the movie that came out, and I
Do
You
you
that
remember that at all?
cartoon barely, yeah.
Maybe.
It wasn't a cartoon, it was live action.
Oh yeah, I know what
It
you're
was
talking
like
about. Yeah,
told
yes,
you
yes,
watch it and
yes.
you're like this was made in Canada
Yes.
in the 90s. Like you it just has that I'm very
Yes.
under budgeted but way ahead of my time kind of thing.
Yeah.
like a creepy Canada type thing. Do you remember that show?
Oh yeah.
Was it
absolutely.
that kind of aesthetic? Because that's what I imagine when I picture
It was more along the lines of like the Goosebumps style film.
Yes.
Oh, really?
You know what
More
I mean?
like
Like-
Goosebumps. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Like that
filmed
style
decent.
of filming anyways. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Or Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just you can very much tell it was made in Canada in the 90s, like or even 80s. I don't even know.
I think one of the ones that would be
elaborate,
interesting
suits and everything.
is Wonderland as well. The psychedelic atmosphere in there would be pretty intense at times.
It's another one. Again, I'd be beheaded because I don't care for the monarchy right away. I'm just like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And then it's like, what? To get through this fucking door, I have to fucking grow big and then shrink. Like, I'm trying to lose weight, man. Like, I'm just gonna shrink. Like, you want me to do all these things just to exist here? Like, I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
But that entire thing is like Alice on drugs. Really?
I really don't know a lot about Camelot except for like Merlin, because there's so many adaptations of that kind of world.
One of the reasons why I was wanting to do this is because of that corner piece right there, Camelot being what it is today. I've been in England where I can't remember the town that they actually have one of the swords from King Arthur's sword. And there's actual proof now that Merlin may have even existed. So it's kind of like the cornerstone that ties this mythical, fairy tale worlds together in a little bit of an aspect.
Been an alchemist, you know what I mean? Like just like
there's some truth that's actually emerging from some of these. So I was thinking about nowadays now, and could you imagine going up against a knight with a sword and being this flubby person that, I sit in front of the TV watching these things. I don't get out there and get energy or exercise or anything. I get into my safe car.
And they'd all in theory be
start it up,
ripped.
put it into gear, and
well, they would
doors
be ripped.
click
That's
closed,
the thing, right?
right?
And
Like,
it's also
clocks go on.
when you're training in combat and you're like wearing plate armor and you're getting slashed with a steel like sword, like not a sharpened steel like when you're training, but like a practice sword, say. Like you're getting the shit beat out of you every day. And like when I was younger, I was arrogant and I was just like, yeah, I could probably beat a knight because it's like if I give me a gauntlet or something like that, or something, gloves or whatever, and I could probably, if I can evade the sword enough, I could probably punch the shit out of this knight, because I mean, because their martial prowess is predominantly with blades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in that kind of setting.
My younger me could have totally done this because that's all we did. We didn't have phones. We didn't have, I had Game Gears and stuff and Nintendo systems, but we were always forced outside to play. So my younger self could totally do this, but me now at 40, fuck no.
Younger me doing a lot of physical labor when I was I'm a naturally strong dude because I've been doing hard labor since I was 12, which is why I have chronic back problems. But I have a nice strong base, but at the same, like me, when my back, even 4, 5, 6 years ago, I probably could have defended well enough. Like you'd have to outthink these people. That's the thing, right?
Which would be fairly simple. Yeah.
Like I'd have to somebody like the Mountain from Game of Thrones. You'd be fucked either way. Like there's nothing you could do there. It's just like that guy's way better with a sword that's like as tall as I am, but also like
he could punch a hole.
He doesn't
through
need
my
any
head.
martial prowess. He could sit on you and you die. It's like 9 feet tall. But just like a knight my size. Like,
have you seen a picture of him standing next to his girlfriend?
I have.
It's just the most ludicrous looking
it's like
that's that one on Instagram that's really
he's like this, and then she's like literally like next to his like
4'9"
height,
or something.
basically.
Yeah,
it's like Shaq with his girlfriend too. It's fascinating. You know what I mean?
It just brings up a lot of physics questions, really. Like
depends on how well endowed the guys are, right? Like that's the thing, we don't know what Shaq's packing. Maybe he got. I've heard this discussion on other podcasts.
We're talking about packages now. I think that we're gonna have to.
I think
we're gonna have to cut this one to an end here.
Why? We all have dicks in this room. There's nothing wrong with a couple of dudes thinking about dicks.
Suit yourselves. I'm happily married with my wife, and suit yourselves.
Hey man, I'm happy.
I've
with
got
a
no
girlfriend.
problem with that
This
either.
is hypothetical.
I also have a girlfriend, and I talk about dicks with her. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, so we've gone from magic to knights to fighting to hallucinations, time travel,
one big dick measuring contest.
All right.
Well, as I was saying, I'd have to try and outsmart them, like Black Knight and Martin Lawrence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, fucking, like, oh, do you fight with swords? Where I come from, like, we don't use swords. Like, come at me. And then, because in Black Knight, that really stuck with me. Obviously, it's a dumb comedy, but I really appreciated that moment in the movie where he outboxed them because these people are like, what are you doing? Or the mentality back and forth is like, you give one and take one, and then you do that until one can't do it anymore. And when Martin Lawrence introduced boxing to this medieval world where they throw a punch at him and he moves, they're like, what was that? It was just like, you tried to hit me. He's like, yeah, let me. You know what I mean? He's like, why don't move? And he's just like, I'm not gonna let you hit me. And then he just outboxes these knights or these peasants, or I can't remember, but it's a pretty funny scene. And that's what I applied that logic if I went back in time too. Sure, if these guys connected, probably lights out, tough lives, swinging blades around since you're like 2 years old. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you'd have to do that. I'm not saying you'd thrive. I'm saying you might be able to get by. you'd still have to figure out how to get food or like.
Food's everywhere. Food's everywhere. Literally everywhere. Like,
Yeah,
think
you
about,
can
like,
pick up
how
bugs
much
and grubs and,
natural
yeah.
growing shit would be around that nobody even really knew about. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, you'd
we
have to-
know about it now through.
You'd have to
centuries
learn to
of-
speak the language too.
Well, it goes
because
back to
for
sea
sure their English
and-
is not.
Fumbling your way around the wilderness, and okay, it killed me.
Yeah. Whoops.
Well, that mushrooms. No one's here to see this. Okay, perfect.
Right on. Well, I think we should shut down this one.
Yeah, all done.
I think so.
I think we could wait, you haven't even picked yours.
Yeah, I did.
Which one would you
Yeah.
thrive in?
Which one would you die in immediately?
Which one would I die in
See, this
immediately?
motherfucker evaded the whole time.
I tried to. One that I would thrive in. It's a toss-up between Middle Earth and Hogwarts, because, you know, if you're in Hobbiton, or not Hobbiton, but you know, if you're in the Shire, that's a really easy place to live in. You know, those guys are 111
If you're in
years
the
old,
Shire, yeah.
and you know nothing's touching you. But if you're, you know, one of the dwarves mining in the mines of Moria or something,
You'd be a
you-
badass motherfucker.
Well,
What-
you would
what-
until you're dead by all the orcs. So it's
Would the hobbits even accept you though? Because they're pretty
I'm pretty
close-minded
tall, yeah.
people, from what I recall.
I've got hair on my feet.
Because like yeah, they're entertained
So-
when Gandalf shows up because
Yeah.
he provides fireworks and shit. But I mean, like, and but more or less from what I recall, people were just like, oh, that wizard's back and like the Shire, blah blah. Blah. I don't know. But then again, I personally am not a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings. I prefer A Song of Ice and Fire, even though it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that J.R.R. Tolkien really popularized fantasy, high fantasy. But one of the reasons that I like the world of Westeros so much is that it's pretty much just Earth, and the magic is slowly being introduced. It's not all
It's not already there,
right
yeah.
away. So that's what raises the stakes for me. It's just people and the bullshit surrounding people and their interactions with one another. And on top of that, now you're slowly introducing magic, which is
Yeah.
really messing everything up. You
Yeah.
know. And
I
so-
haven't seen all of that, so it's
Reintroducing magic.
Yeah,
Because
reintroducing.
like it
because
had been
they
lost
think
to the wayside for like 700 years or something.
that was one of my other
Yeah,
thoughts on this whole entire conversation thing was going back to the reality of Camelot and, you know, the actual grave being found where Merlin is in Europe, and
well, that's what I was going to bring
you know,
up.
is it possible that this stuff is still out there and exists in our world, but we just lost it?
Interesting.
Personally, I believe magic. Merlin could have been a dude or like a real guy who existed.
Why are
know
you
what I mean?
assuming his gender identity? Oh, I said his. Oh.
Yeah, touche.
I identify as a giraffe.
No, he. What is more likely to me?
See how blue my tongue is?
Yeah, Merlin could have existed. He could have just been a charlatan. That's how legends grow, right? You know what I mean? But what's more likely, like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, I don't know why, is how long did dinosaurs actually live before they went extinct? You know what I mean? Because there's always tales. Like I'd seen something not long ago about people thinking that like brontosauruses or something along those lines still living deep in the jungle of the Congo because it's hot there and it's still mostly unexplored. You know,
Yeah,
because it's
that's
so
fair.
dense. And there are stories coming out of there apparently of these giant creatures with long necks, and you'd assume elephant or something like that, but I don't really know where elephants live other than Thailand or something. You know what I
Africa
mean?
as well. Yeah.
Africa.
Different parts,
Yeah.
but apparently they're much larger. It's described as long necks.
Yeah.
Like sure, it could be a giraffe, but they're really emphasizing the size. So like that idea is really interesting. It's like Nessie or the Loch Ness Monster or any of these lake creatures, right?
Yeah.
So with Camelot specifically in Knights Fighting Dragons, could it have been that pterodactyls or other kinds of flying reptiles did exist up until that point, until they were all hunted? You know what I mean?
That's a very good possibility because we are chewing up this world pretty damn quick with
Because
hunting.
what was that thing in the ocean? Not a megalodon. That's a giant shark. Coelacanth or something. I don't know if that's the right thing. I remember learning about this when I was a kid at school.
Cthulhu?
No, it was just this really old fish. It was like thought to be extinct for like
Oh, and then
thousands
they
of years.
found
if
it,
not
yeah, I
millions.
remember
like
seeing
10,000
that.
years ago or something
Yeah,
like that. It
more
just
than that, I think.
resurfaced from the
Yeah.
depths of the water, and they found it in Japan, in the harbors of Japan.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. They're
Yeah.
just like they're like. Oh,
I remember
so-
seeing the article. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
can remember
It's
the
like
fish
National
show.
Geographic.
Yeah.
Years and years ago. So maybe, right? So maybe they could have survived.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
And which one would you die in quickly?
Magic mushroom. Or magic mushroom. Mushroom Kingdom.
3
But of
strikes are
course-
out.
So, you've never heard of answers to questions nobody asked. But you know what you're going to find? So much of absolutely everything. We talk about whatever we want. Do you think the topics of space and time can equal anything when we're talking about movies and period